Get a minute, don't know. Get a minute of your time. Get a minute of your. I show that I live right, and I'm never gonna let you out of my side. I've been knocked out, was a nice try, but I guess I get to keep my head on this time. God of the creation, the relations I've got, the only one that keeps me safe, the only one you should trust. For sure, it ain't right that I have checked the speck of dust from all of its sides. Fall down, that from my height, cause I didn't see the plank I have in my eye.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to our podcast, From Vision to Success.
From vision to success. Wagwanin, people.
So we were just discussing, Miguel here has a difficult time whenever there's silence. So if I'm doing something or it's more a serious moment, so he starts burping and farting. And I just don't
Tell the truth. Tell the truth.
You tell the truth. Have you not?
I've burped. I haven't done the other one. I have not done the other one. There's no way. Oh, you're such a liar. You're making me look bad. Oh, wait.
But he's just so uncomfortable with silence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am uncomfortable with silence. I don't like it. I think, I used to get beats before. No, I don't know.
What are you doing? Take your phone away.
I wanted to make sure that we were going live.
Oh, okay.
Because it didn't post. Live. Yeah, so for those who are joining.
We are live. So welcome. We have an exciting podcast today.
Beats before.
What? Concentrate, man. Anyway, so today, what are we talking about today, Miguel?
So we are. Did you read it?
Yeah, I read it.
What was it about?
Well, you tell me. That's why I'm giving you the opportunity to shine.
I'm the one that created the post.
Well, we're talking about anxiety today.
No.
What are we talking about then? Hold up. I thought that's what I read.
No, that's not what we're talking about.
Okay, so that was what we planned on.
So when you're feeling down, it can't feel like there's nobody to turn to. That's when it is important to remember that there are things that you can do to make yourself feel better. You don't have to be alone. Today we will be talking about bouncing back.
Yeah, we're talking about bouncing back. Oh my gosh. So yeah, we're talking about bouncing back.
So going back to this, right? So what is it about feeling alone?
Well, you feel like you can't really connect with anyone. You feel like you're the only person going through whatever it is that you're going through.
Yeah.
And you know what enhances that feeling? When you seclude yourself, when you don't talk to anyone, when you don't tell anybody what's going on.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
You feel alone, and so you pull back away from everybody, and then you look around like, see, I am alone. Yeah. But you're alone because you've put yourself in that position.
Yeah, and it's hard. I totally get it. Like, that's what I did through my summer. I have a group of friends, right? We're really good friends. We have a girls' chat. There's 5 of us in there. And when I was going through my really, really hard, actually, I've done this twice. Previously to this time, what?
Mike.
You laugh, just synchronize.
So Mike just said that our...
Oh my gosh. Look at that. Oh gosh.
So our lives, Mike's Maria's husband.
Why is it green?
Because I don't know. I forget. I don't know how to do it. Anyways, is that what you're focusing on? So, anyways, going back to your thing. So this summer.
Okay. No, I was just gonna share that's exactly what I do when I feel down. Oh, what do you have there, Miguel? Tell me.
Oh, it's my MTC Life mug. I don't know. Do you know about this?
Tell me more. Let's do a little plug in here.
Oh, yeah. Listen, if you guys want to support our show, like I'm telling you right now, it's right here. Right? This is our mug club. And for a small contribution, you'll get this mug that says, I am awesome.
It has affirmations on there, so it helps you remember who you are.
And then, on the other side, there are all the words that are associated to awesomeness. So, for example, we have here astonishing, outstanding, eye-opening, fabulous, marvelous, stupendous, stunning, staggering, prodigious,
For something.
something
Big word.
wonderful, and wonder. So a bunch of synonyms to awesomeness, and
Yeah.
then there's other words that have been used in conjunction with awesomeness. So like attractive, sorry, bewitched, charming, incredible. So anyways, there's a whole bunch of words here. So every morning when you're drinking your hot chocolate, because we don't drink coffee,
Yeah.
you can be reading all the words that you can work towards whatever. So we're gonna be putting up a sponsor support,
Yeah.
and so then if you help us, right, it's almost like a Patreon channel, and then if you get this, and it'll help grow the channel and go from there.
Yeah. We'll be having hot chocolate, herbal tea together. Hey, if you drink coffee or tea,
You go
still
for it.
join us.
Yeah, go for it.
No judgment here.
So tell me, so why do people feel alone then?
Well, I'll share with you why I feel
Yeah.
alone. Okay, so in the past, when I've had my difficult times, it's been a hard, and we've talked about this multiple times about how hard it's been this last couple of years. But my previous experience, previous to this, like I was saying, I have a group of friends, 5 friends. We always chat. But when I was going through my hard, I pulled away. And when I pulled away because I couldn't. They talked about all the good stuff that was going on in their life, and I was happy that good stuff was going on in their life. But then it just made me compare, I guess, right? Like a part of me was like, oh my gosh, all this good stuff is going on, and look at my life, like, and I felt like I had nothing positive to contribute. So why even be there? But then what happened is actually affected my friendships with my group of friends. Enough that I remember we had a girls' like weekend away, and a friend from our particular group, she reached out to me. She was like, "Hey, you should come," and she was great. Even when I was absent, she would still reach out to me individually, and I was like, "Okay, yeah, I'm gonna go." So I went to the weekend. It was at her house, but then when I showed up, another one that was a really good friend of mine, I felt her pull away. I felt like there was a wedge between us. And I remember thinking in my mind, like, I probably did something, but I'm like, I'm committed to this friendship and I'm going to make it work no matter what. So I embraced it. I went for it. I hugged her. I nurtured that friendship during that weekend. It was actually a year ago because it was during General Conference weekend.
Okay.
And then we were able to talk about it after, and she was upset, like rightfully so, that I pulled away. But in her mind, I pulled away because I had a problem with her.
In her mind.
Right? Which
Okay.
I can totally see. As a friend, when you're a friend with someone, when you pull away, if you don't tell people what's going on, if they don't know you're struggling, if they don't know you're suffering, they don't know anything about your life, then you can only assume that you've done something or there's some type of problem. That's the reason why you're pulling away.
Yeah.
So like you said, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. I felt alone. I pulled away. My friends were pulling away from me, so I felt even more alone. As opposed to this time around when the stuff was going on with my dad, having had that same experience about a year ago. Yeah, it was like probably a year with my mother-in-law. I gotta lean in. I remember how awkward it felt to lean in, but I was a lot more vocal about it. I was like, hey guys, I'm so sorry. I'm struggling right now. I'm going to have to take some time to pull back just to kind of focus on what everything's going on. I wouldn't be there consistently, but I was giving them the heads up. I was like, this is what's going on in my life. I feel overwhelmed. I feel like I can't do this. I need it. I need some time. And it was so much better.
Well, I guess because the main thing too as well. Like, I mean, you got a great group of friends, and they saw what was going on in your life, and I mean that's something very, very tragic. So they were more understanding, right? And so,
because I shared it. Because
Because you
remember,
shared it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I wasn't sharing anything on
that's
social
right.
media.
That's right. You weren't sharing, so they wouldn't have known, right?
No, had I not said anything, they would have been like, what's up with her? What's her problem? Which rightfully so. You have a friend that you see all the time, and then you see this friend and she's acting weird. You're like, what's going on? And then you're all cryptic in your messages. Like, there has to be a level of openness. I think vulnerability is underrated. I think people get scared about being vulnerable. And so you tend to shut down and you tend to put up those walls because you don't see. Yeah.
I do all the time.
See, and I'm like, vulnerability is power.
Really?
I'm like, the times that I've been the most vulnerable, I've been able to connect with people the most.
So I did the YLC workshop this year, right? And so for those who are listening,
Yeah. No, go ahead. I was going to explain what YLC is, but go ahead.
Yeah, so it's called a youth leadership conference, and so our church puts out this conference every year, where all the students get to go to London University or, anyways, whatever.
A university around.
At a university.
Yeah.
Most of the time it is in London.
No, this one wasn't. This
Guelph.
one was in
Sorry,
Guelph.
Waterloo. Waterloo.
Yeah.
That's right. The Waterloo one. So we used to have it in London, but now now we have it in Waterloo. Anyways, and so I've always been a guest speaker. I've always been a guest workshop presenter. Anyways, every year I've been doing it for 12.
Fun fact, I was invited to be a speaker.
I know. I know.
Let me just dust myself for being invited.
Yeah, actually, they came out. So the youth picked the speakers, and this time around, and you've never worked with like the youth at that capacity. So somehow
No,
your
not at
name,
that capacity.
yeah. So somehow your name came about, and they're like, let's get her in here.
Yeah, so I was invited. My topic was actually was imperfect faith.
Yeah.
That was going to be my topic. I was going to talk to like 500 youth about this. We're going to do the workshops, but obviously I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
No. And so anyway, so I go every year, and every year, not to boast or whatever. I get positive feedback all the time, right?
Listen, get on your horse. Get on your
It's my high horse,
Pegasus.
my Pegasus,
I was going to call it asparagus. I was like, that's not right. Get on your asparagus.
the Latino. So get on your
Asparagus.
asparagus. So here I am on my asparagus, and
That's why we'll have the t-shirt.
oh
You're
my
riding
gosh,
asparagus.
me riding asparagus with wings.
and a horn.
So weird. So I was invited, and then I was invited anyways, and I've always gotten positive feedback, right? Like, I mean, I've put my heart and soul in these workshops
Yeah.
and whatever. But the one feedback that I got, and again, I'm not saying this to boast, right? But that out of someone who had seen them all,
Yeah.
this one was their favorite.
Oh, really? That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And so, I mean, I'm thinking all of them are been great. What makes this one different than all the other ones? And so I had to ask, I'm like, why would you consider this one to be, like your favorite one or the best ones?
Did you share something personal?
I did.
Yeah.
So I started the workshop by letting everybody know that I struggle with self-confidence, right? And
Which, if you know him, you'd be like, what?
Yeah.
Why would you struggle with that?
Yeah. So I don't want to say suffer because it's not a disease, right? Like, it's not a chemical imbalance. I know it's a mental thinking. So that's why I don't say, that's why I'm not saying, what's the word I just used?
Suffer.
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 I don't suffer. I struggle, right? Because I suffer something chemical that you can't really, whatever, you suffer bipolar, depression, that stuff. Those can be chemically induced. But suffer is more like, in my mind, my definition is more mental, right?
Yes. We'll talk about that after.
No, tell me.
No, it's just because, from what I've been reading,
Accuse me. What from? Hang on. Go. Do tell. Go.
so suffering
Yeah.
is self-induced. And
Right.
so
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so suffering is self-induced.
yeah, so you can experience pain. You
Yeah.
can experience, obviously, imbalances.
Right.
Chemical imbalances, disease, and all that stuff, right? But suffering is self-induced because if you look at two people, they can have something like the same disease, right? And like technically the same pathophysiology, and similar things are happening, but one can be suffering more than the other.
Okay.
Because suffering, it becomes, it's based on your perspective and how you're living your reality and what your narrative is through it.
Okay. Well, I don't suffer. I'm struggling. That's my definition. I struggle, right? It's this mental thing that I have.
Yeah.
So I told them I read out the youth, right? And I actually and I remember crying every time and shaking and letting people know, listen,
Oh my
I
gosh.
struggle with
I'm so proud of you.
and so I struggle with confidence and just self-esteem and so when we got the email saying that we were going to present,
Yeah.
it was a list of like 20 things,
Yeah.
right? And so I looked, and the one that I picked was number 9.
And was value, what was it? What was the title of it? Something about
Yeah,
value.
know your worth.
Yeah.
Right. Know your value, know your worth. And so I saw number 9, and number 9 hit me, and I was like, oh, this is a good one, but like, I don't want to do this one. And I'm like, I don't want to do this. So I kept reading the list, and I'm like, this one's a good one. And I'm like, okay, let me go back. And so then I would read it again. And I would stop at 9. I'm like, oh, this is so good. But I don't want to. And so I did it about 3 or 4 times. And so I knew what was going to happen. I knew that I was going to come out and be like, okay, this is something that I've struggled with my entire life, which is self-confidence and self-esteem. And so I'm like, okay, so I submitted the topic. I did my workshop, and I did 4 times, and all 4 times I said, this is what I've struggled with my entire life, and with tears in my eyes. And and everybody's reaction was the exact same thing. You? Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I hide it.
It's because you put yourself out there. You step into your alternate ego. So when you're in front of people, you're like this funny guy.
Yeah.
You're like, you can work a room and whatnot. But then as we've obviously gotten to know each other better in this past like few months, I've seen those moments where you're like, where that like kind of like that self-doubt comes in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
No. And yeah. So you've seen it already,
I've seen
right?
it. Yeah.
you've
So
seen
that's
it.
why when you first told me that you struggle with self-confidence, I was like, you what?
Yeah.
But then as I've gotten to know you, I've been able to see it, because obviously I just used to know the Miguel that shows up at church, the one that's like fun and outgoing, right? But then we've had pretty deep conversations where I've been like, yeah, I can totally see it.
Yeah. And so and everybody's like, you? Yeah, right. I'm like, you know what? I and it's funny because I call it the Michael Jackson effect.
Okay.
Right. And so it's when Michael Jackson in any interview, he's this calm little timid, like Michael Jackson, oh my gosh, whatever.
Yeah.
But when he's on stage, he's this powerhouse, his facial gestures and whatever. And because he's like performing, he's out there. And so, and even what's it called? Beyonce says she's done something very, very similar. She's very timid and quiet, but when she's on stage, she knows she has to deliver a product or a service.
Yeah.
And so she turns into Sasha Fierce.
Yeah.
Right, which is the one album. And so I do something similar. I know that my lack of self-esteem is not going to help me progress. Like, I know that it's not going to help me progress, get a job. It's not going to help me progress, do whatever. So I have that alter ego. Now that you're saying it, I can totally see it now, that it kicks in and it rescues me, right? Rescue.
There's no X, no rescue. Rescue. It rescues him.
It rescues me. It rexes me. And so
rescues for those that don't understand what he said.
Rescues. Yeah, I said it.
Yeah, rescues.
But so then so because I put myself out there and I let people into my world and how I feel and what I wake up every morning, it's this one sister came up to me and she says, yeah, like, because again, they had me on this
pedestal.
But I'm not on this pedestal,
well,
right?
that's what happens when you don't share any of the struggle. Then it's very easy for people to put you on a pedestal and to have such a huge wedge between you and who they are and be like, Miguel can do that. I can never do that.
Yeah.
But then when you share that you struggle with confidence, and somebody's like, I struggle with confidence too. So if he can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
So that's the power of vulnerability.
Yeah.
It allows others to relate to your story, because nobody's perfect. Nobody's like a powerhouse that you're able to go do without any struggle, right?
Yeah. Which is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is hard, right? Like it's hard to share that part of you.
It is very, very hard. And I'll tell you what the biggest part is. I don't want any sympathy. I hate it. It's like, oh, it's going to be okay.
But it's in your head. I think that's in your head.
But when it has happened, I have felt very uncomfortable. So if I put myself out there, which I have in the past, just to test the waters, then people come into like, oh, it's going to be okay. You know, you are amazing. You are phenomenal. And then it's just like,
all you got to say is just thank you. And then just deep breath and exhale it and then just move on.
Yeah.
You just embrace it. You have to embrace it.
Tegan's the same way. I can't compliment, like, I'm like, oh, you're so beautiful. She goes into her turtle formation.
Oh my gosh.
She does. Have you ever seen her? Next time we go out for dinner.
I know. I have noticed when you compliment her, she just ignores you.
No, that's other stuff. No, that's what I'm like hitting on her, right? But that's not it. No, what I'm talking about is like next time we go out for dinner, right?
Okay.
Just pick a feature. Hair, face, nose, eyes, body, whatever it is, and just compliment the stink out of her. And you'll see. We call it the turtle formation.
That's just going into the turtle formation.
She does. She goes.
Her shell is coming out, I guess.
Her head goes down and her shoulders goes up.
Oh, you're so sweet. Oh my gosh.
And she just hides within herself, right? So she's the same way. And so we've had that conversation. It was like, babe, just accept the compliments, right? She's like, no, and she's fought it in the past, but now she just stays quiet and turtle formation activated. I tell you, next time we go out for dinner, do it and you'll see.
Okay,
Just
I'll
pick
do
a feature.
it. I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'll do it. I
And
love
you'll see-
Tegan.
And you'll see, yeah, she's awesome. But
Yeah.
so that's that. So okay, but going back, so I was looking at this and I'm like, there has to be a science behind it.
About what?
Like the brain and us feeling alone, which it says here, Wired, wired.com.
Mm-hmm.
So it says here, check this out. The social isolation has been linked to poor physical and mental health.
Mm-hmm.
But scientists are finally starting to understand it is neurological. It is a neurological impact.
Mm-hmm.
And then it says here, Josie Loris and Antoine something and disappearance. What's happening here? That even more. Okay. So it says here, so humans rarely experience such extreme social isolations, but studies have shown that even in normal life, increased loneliness has a negative impact on physical and mental health.
Yeah.
One review of the science of loneliness found that people with stronger social relationship have a 50% increased likelihood of survival over a set period of time, compared with those who are weaker social connections.
I have heard that men who are married live longer than men who are unmarried.
Really?
Yeah, I have heard that. I probably could pull it up, but it's been studies that have been done that men who are married tend to live longer. They have a longer life expectancy. So I almost wonder if it probably is the fact of social connection, right?
Yeah. Other studies have linked loneliness and cardiovascular disease, inflammations, and depression.
Yeah. It's because it changes. Whatever emotion that you're focusing on changes you. Changes the way that you experience it physically. And I think
Right.
that physical manifestation comes into forms of pain or chemical imbalances or things that, that end up happening to your body that wouldn't happen otherwise. I'm reading this really interesting book, right? It's about emotions and how to manage them. And on there today, it was one of the quotes that I actually highlighted. It said that the circumstances or the events that happen in our life have no meaning until we attach meaning to it. So, for
Okay.
instance,
Yeah,
you and
yeah.
I could go through the same thing,
Yeah, I've heard that too.
but you can have a completely different experience than I'm having because we both have interpreted the event a completely different way, and
Yeah.
it's based on our life story.
Yeah.
Because you look at everything that's happening in your past, I look what's happening in my past, then I identify with that story in that way, and then I give it a meaning.
Yeah.
And then if it's a negative meaning, it affects me physically. If it's a positive meaning, then it propels me forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I found that really interesting. Like I loved it. Like I love learning about that because when I was doing my grieving counseling, I talked to the counselor with regards to triggers because I was having triggers with different things that I was doing. Like one of my biggest triggers is when I go into a garage, and like where you go and park a car, not a personal garage, but like.
You gotta warn me, man, when you do stuff like that. When you say stuff like that, I can't
Oh my
process
gosh.
that like.
I have to explain it. Just kidding. But
Okay, go ahead.
a
Sorry.
public garage. I should have said it that way. So I physically have. What was that?
I don't know. Did you heard that too, right?
I heard it. I was like, "What did I tell you about your bodily?"
That was not me. That I swear.
We're trying to have a serious conversation, man.
It
I
was
don't
a
know.
chair. I have a chair
Yeah.
here, and when I moved it, it made a squeaking sound. That
I
was
think it
not me.
was.
That was not. Anyways, go ahead.
Anyway, so we were talking about my emotional trigger or my triggers.
Mm-hmm.
And when I have a trigger, I have a physical reaction to that trigger. Whether it's stomach pain, whether it's like a knot in my throat or my heart thumping, there's a physical reaction that happens. And there's a couple. There's one when I drive towards downtown Toronto. And the second one is when I'm in garages, right? So I was talking to him about it, and he's like, as we were working through it, and he said to me, he's like, well, it's the narrative that you have attached to that particular thing. So I have this life experience that I've attached to this physical thing. It's not that the physical thing has that meaning because it's like a garage, you just go and park, right? But I have a life experience that now I have attached to it, right? So that's my interpretation of it. And because I keep focusing on it, it's giving me like a physical manifestation, and that physical manifestation is just creating the reality that I'm living. Anyway, what he said is that he's like, you have the power to change that narrative. So he helped me to identify the reasons why I have that trigger.
Okay.
And then he helped me to identify the reason why I did what I did. And what it boiled down to was unconditional love. We talked about this, of the reason why I chose to be present in my dad's life all the way to the end.
Yeah.
And it all boiled down to unconditional love. Is not because he told me, he's like, you didn't have to be there. You had a choice, but I chose to be there. So when he helped me boil down the fact that it's unconditional love, now I'm able to change the narrative. So when I was driving towards downtown, I started feeling those emotions. They were physically manifesting because my trigger was a highway going onto the 427, which was downtown. My memory kicked in of my dad, then kind of like what happened in a matter of like 2 seconds or like a second. So I started having those physical manifestations. And then I reframed myself. I changed my narrative. So when I changed my narrative and I told myself and reminded myself that all that was expressions of love, and it's a sweet reminder of my dad, I felt the emotions like dissipate. I felt my body relax. And that's something I'm working on, right? But I'm like, it's the power that we have over the stories that we tell
So
ourselves.
I have to ask, why garage and why downtown?
Because my dad was at TGH. So he was at Toronto General Hospital for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Me and my mom would go and travel to go see him. The garage that I parked on was right across the street from him. So any garage that I go into has a physical manifestation for me. It's a trigger.
Really?
The second thing is downtown Toronto, because the only time I was going consecutively to downtown Toronto was to go visit my dad. I went twice. Well, I went there in the morning. I came back in the afternoon. I hadn't been there in like, since my dad passed away, I hadn't been there in like maybe a month. And then we started driving towards there when we were going to a Jays game. I could feel the emotions. I could feel my like chest tighten. I could feel like almost like a turtle formation, I guess, too. Because you shrink, right? Whenever you have negative emotions, you shrink. And I could feel them. And I was experiencing them. And I was experiencing a trigger.
Really? Eh?
But it was because of the narrative, because it was my stories. Because if me and you were traveling downtown together, you wouldn't experience. You'd be like
nothing, right? Well, I would have different experience when I was dancing or working with Much Music. I get excited going downtown Toronto.
Exactly, because you have that association based on your life experience, and it's a positive one for you. So because it's positive, you don't have to reframe it. But when it's something that causes you distress, then you have to reframe it. You have to look at it from a different way.
So it is reversible.
It's manageable.
Manageable.
That's what I want to say. Like, it's manageable because there are these things that are going to be with you, maybe more intense in the beginning months. And maybe these are some things that I probably may not even remember in the future. But I think as of right now, I want to say that they're manageable because like the life experience is still there. That scar is still there. So one of the things that the grieving counselor said is actually how every negative experience that we have, or even the process of mourning and grieving and losing a loved one, leaves a scar for you, right? So when we were talking about scars, I had this negative connotation to scars. I was like, oh my gosh, am I always going to feel this pain? Am I almost going to have this like triggers, this anxiety, this sense of like powerlessness, I guess, right? And then I started thinking one of my walks, actually. I do my best thinking in my walks. Anyway, so
for me, it's a bathroom. I'm not even joking.
That's your light bulb moments. I know, because I think you've called me from the bathroom before.
I've never done. That I've never ever done. I don't even call
Please never call me. Never if I hear that, everybody knows when someone's in the bathroom, you hear that echo.
The echo. That's why I never pick up the phone. I'm like, are you kidding me? No, but it's because, and you know what it is? Not because what I'm doing in the bathroom, it's because I'm sitting there.
You're quiet. You're having quiet time. You're having you time.
Yeah. I'm just chilling there, and I'm just waiting for the process to happen, and I'm just there chilling, whatever. And then I'm like, oh, that would be a good workshop. And so
your best ideas come from there.
Yeah, for me at least.
Yeah.
Anyway, so for you is walking.
Yeah, it's walking. It's any time that I have it's walking or when I work out. I think for me it's physical. I have most of my creative ideas come when I'm being physical.
So can I tell you something not controversial, but somewhat controversial?
Okay, tell me.
Okay. So, oh man, I'm always so hesitant because I don't want to get canceled. But anyways, you can't cancel me. I
This
can't
is
say that.
Canada. This is free speech, baby.
No, yeah, you kidding me? So this is, this whole talk about like racism and everything, right?
Sorry, what?
You know-
Racism?
Racism.
Racism?
What did I say? Racism. Racism.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, racism, right?
Okay.
So I'm not saying that it doesn't exist. Obviously, some people are and whatever. But what I don't agree with is that every negative thing that happens to somebody of a different culture is because of racism. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if I don't get a job, it's because I'm not qualified, not because I'm Spanish.
You know what the issue is with that though? And I think this is what the struggle is
Yeah.
that you wonder. Because
Yeah.
so I think it's not, you're absolutely right. I think it's not always, is it related to your race or related to
Gender.
gender, but I think is the fact that you're left wondering is what the hard thing is.
I agree with that.
Because there's passive aggressiveness too within racism, right? There's, it could really come from anywhere where people make jokes here and there, and then you're like, ha ha ha, and you don't say anything because you don't want to seem as like overly sensitive. But then you're like, wait, that didn't sit right with me, right? So those are like microaggressions that end up building up, and perhaps you're not saying anything, and then the next time you go and you do something, and then you're like, wait, is this because like the person sees me differently because I'm a different
So last week,
ethnicity?
yeah. So last week I was at a workshop, right? And one of the workshops that I do is having a positive attitude, right? And so we always talk about the difference between negative and positive. Give me some examples of some negative attitude behavior, positive attitude behavior, and we just talk about it. And then what I do is I teach them. You've been in one of them where I teach them a music routine,
Oh yes,
and then I do a dance battle, right? Okay. 12, 13 years doing this. All right. 12, 13 years doing this. So I'm in this school and I'm doing the exact same thing. Getting them laughing, talking to them. Hey, how are you? It's going to be good. We're going to have a blast. All right, I'm going to teach you this routine. I show them the routine. I put them in 2 different groups. And I'm like, all right, this group, you're an actual legit group. It's a breakdancing group from North York.
Okay.
You guys are Back to Basics, a group from Jane and Finch.
Okay.
Right? So what I want you to do is I want you to be like, when I say, who are you? You're going to be like, back to basics. And you're going to scream it really loud. I'm like, okay, let's practice. So, back to basics. And then, 1, 2, 3. And they're like, back to basics. And then they scream it out, right? Then I
Were
turn
you doing this with adults or with kids?
kids.
Okay.
Right? Kids. And then
Yeah.
I turn to the other group and I'm like, all right, guys, here we go. So you guys are a group from Scarborough, right? My people. That's where I grew up, right? And you guys are Ghetto's Original. So when I say, who are you? You're going to say Ghetto's Original. And we're like, ready? 1, 2, 3, Ghetto's Original. You guys, who are you? Back to Basics. You guys, Ghetto's Original. We had a really, really good time.
Okay.
We did the dance battle. We talked about, whatever we talked about. So 15 minutes. So I have about 15 minutes between my 2 workshops.
Yeah.
The group leaves. About 5 minutes later, walks in the VP.
You said something offensive.
Yeah.
Somebody took offense to something that you said.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was it the Ghetto Originals?
Yeah. They would know it was the fact that they're a crew from Jane and Finch.
They are in a crew from Jane and Finch?
Yeah, they're a crew. They're part of a crew, a dance crew called Back to Basics. The fact that I said Jane and Finch.
Okay. Okay.
Now,
Yeah.
if she's listening, this is not offense to her or whatever, but because she's not the one that got triggered, right? It was
Yeah.
somebody came to her.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything offensive. All I said was, you are an actual crew. And I told him, when I was younger, I was part of a crew, a dance crew, and we were called Los Niños, which means the kids. It was predominantly Spanish kids. And then we used to battle these 2 crews. There was a crew named Back to Basics from Jane and Finch and a crew named Ghetto's Original from Scarborough.
Yeah.
We used to battle them all the time. And so, but because I said who they were and their origin,
Yeah.
somebody took offense and they didn't like the fact that I said that.
Oh, dang. So in the second workshop, did you have to change it, I guess?
So in the second workshop, I took out the battle. So I did still show them the routine. We did talk about all that stuff. So I was able to finish the second workshop and not do that whole splitting you guys up in half and then changing the names.
It's so hard because this is the thing with triggers, right? if they are not dealt with, you're going to go through life being triggered all over the place. Right. And
Yeah.
so I'm like, it obviously it affects other people who are trying to do their job, trying to like, and didn't mean anything by it. Like for instance, your workshop, it was affected, but I'm like, but really that I feel like the most, I guess, heartbreaking aspect of this is that potentially this person is going to go through life being triggered multiple times.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is. Things that are undealt with, they come up.
And she said that, and I'm like, I am so sorry. I didn't mean to offend anybody. She goes, oh, no, it's just something that got brought to her attention. And she goes, this is what she said. She goes, this is the times that we're living in, right?
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. She goes, this is the times that we're living in. The fact that the other day she had a meeting, and it was shortly after the queen had passed away.
Yeah.
And so she had gone dressed, and she had like a purple scarf.
Yeah.
And then she went and got changed because her wearing purple didn't want to promote monarchy.
Because it was,
Royal.
It's royal. Yeah.
So then somebody would have been probably offended. And I'm like, it's just, I think we've gone to a point that we are offended. We are professionals at being offended.
Yeah. I have to say, I'm like, and that's the thing. You cannot, I mean, in a professional setting is more difficult because when you are being hired to do a job, when you're going and doing like services and stuff, you kind of have to take that kind of stuff into consideration. However, I feel like living your life every day, there should be aspects, not that there should be, you should totally be able to shine your light regardless of how the light is. As long as you're kind
Right.
and you're not offensive to the point where you're like putting people down. But you should be able to like shine your light, whatever it means that you want to do. Like for instance, for myself, I know that sometimes people get triggered with posts or like with things when people discuss God, right?
Yeah.
And God is like, me and God are like intertwined. Like you cannot have a conversation with me without me being grateful for something he has done for me, or me like it makes me who I am, right?
I got a message on that a year ago. No, so a year before the pandemic, I did a workshop, and I put a post saying I just came back from YLC.
Yeah.
And, I hung out with 700 of most amazing youth in Ontario, Christian warriors. I got a personal message saying, I had no idea you were one of those.
Yeah. Because people can take offense to it, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the thing. You almost have to put your blinders on, and you have to be like, I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea. And I'm just going to do me. Because if you become everybody's cup of tea, one, you're being a chameleon, you're not going to be happy, and it's going to induce more of those feelings of loneliness.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I think that's the thing, because once she told me that, and it was very, very weird, because when she said that, and I'm like, I'm so sorry, whatever, she left, my energy was just sucked away.
And I feel like it would have been more impactful with you as well, because you already struggle with like confidence, right? So here you are delivering something that you're like, oh man, I worked and like I got that energy.
Yeah.
And then here's somebody giving you feedback about somebody being offended, and you're like, I totally get it.
Yeah.
Like
So here's and God works in very mysterious ways. He's in the details, right? 100% 100% he's in the details, and I think we can both agree on that. So she left, and I literally had no energy. I just put my back up against the stage, or my butt up against the stage, and I'm like, how in the world am I going to get over this, right? And I can feel. Right now, I work really, really hard in the morning to get my energy level up. Whether it's going to the gym, reading my scriptures, which are
show those bad boys
right here,
Oh
right?
my
I got
gosh.
right.
You're old school. You like legit like.
Oh yeah, I have to, right? But anyway, so reading my scriptures, listening to positive tapes, listening to. So I work really, really hard in the morning to just get myself up there, and I could feel like one of those just draining.
Yeah.
And I'm okay, and I okay. Got 10 minutes. What do I do? So on the way to the workshop, I was listening to an like a podcast or a interview with Jordan Peterson.
Okay.
Right? And then he said, you gotta be able to take criticism.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only way to grow.
Mm-hmm.
If people are not telling you what you're doing wrong, then you're never going to change, right? And so, and 16 minutes of him telling you, when you get feedback, look at it as a positive, not a negative. And so I was like, okay, I literally just, an hour and a half ago, I just heard this guy telling me that I got to take criticism as a positive, not a negative. And so, and what you said is
You reframed it.
I reframed it.
Yeah.
I reframed it. And then I was like, okay, this is not a negative. This is a positive. This is the times that we're living in. People are sensitive, and I got to be able to change my dialogue according to times, right?
Yeah.
And so I could see myself it was starting to go down, and it stopped. I changed it, reframed it. I'm like, okay, this is not a negative. This is a positive, and I can feel it go back up. And workshop 2, I killed it.
Yeah.
Killed it, right?
Yeah.
But it was the whole reframing thing.
Yeah. And that's powerful, right? Like
Yeah.
whatever emotion you're experiencing, that you have the power to reframe that narrative, because everything that you experience is based on your own life experience, based on what's happened in the past, not understanding that, or not fully embracing that the future can be very different from your past, right? So when you change that narrative and you come from feelings of gratitude and love, you'll always be able to look at it differently.
Okay, so now Michael, hey, enjoying the discussion. Miguel, hey, my pleasure, my friend. This guy, so he is so what he did was he recorded my workshop at
shit.
YLC.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, this guy's the bomb. He's
That's awesome.
great videographer. And
Oh, shoot, that's
editor. Yeah,
awesome.
he's a good guy. Okay, so here's my thing. So thank you so much for that, Mike. So here's the thing. Because when we are feeling alone, there's a trigger. So now we've established there's a trigger,
Yep.
and then there's a process of thought or something like that. So now when we're feeling alone, it's because something has triggered that sensation. So we need to frame it,
Reframe it.
reframe it. We need to reframe it. So how do we do that? So when we are telling ourselves, I'm alone, I don't have anybody, all these different things, how do you reframe it?
You have to change your story, right? Everything. I love the fact that healing comes from your stories and what you tell yourself. So you have to look back at your life and you have to find stories of healing. You have to find things that have helped you. Once you find that, then you're able to reframe what's going on right now. So I read this really powerful thing in the current book that I'm reading. So it said that with any emotion, you experience the emotion, right? Emotional loneliness. Second, you have an interpretation of that loneliness. So you have the reason why you feel lonely. Nobody understands me. I'm alone. Look at them. They're out there living their life. My life sucks. I'm struggling with this. Not like nothing ever good happens to me. You kind of have that thought process going on, right?
Yeah.
So that's your interpretation of things. And then what happens is that you identify with those feelings, right? So you have your emotion. You're interpreting it based on your life experience. You're giving it ammo kind of thing. And then you're identifying, you're like, oh my gosh, yes, that's me living my life. That sucks. And this has happened. And then what happens, you tend to repeat it, right? And when you repeat it, that emotion becomes stronger and becomes your core emotion. So an emotion that's deep within, that's always going to come up, that's going to only be emphasized by the trigger that you have. So.
Okay, so say it again. So I have something happens. You tell me, Miguel, your hair sucks.
So how do you interpret it, what I said? Let's do a real life example, okay?
I don't wanna do
Okay,
that.
let's do a real life
I
example.
don't know if I
Come on,
wanna do
Miguel. You
I
always
don't know if I
analyze
wanna-
me. You always want to counsel me. So take it back.
I'm drinking out of my mug.
Okay, so let's do the emotion that you felt when you were told that you had to change, like when the person came and somebody in your class, in your workshop had been offended. Like it was a trigger for them.
It wasn't a kid. It was an adult, right?
Okay, so the adult had a trigger.
Right.
So how did you feel?
Oh, I felt bad.
Okay.
I felt like I was questioning my teaching capabilities. I was questioning if my content's still relevant. I was questioning everything.
So that's how you were interpreting it, right?
100%.
Okay, so how did you identify with that? Did you think of things that like in the past you've sucked at? Or like how did you identify with it?
So because the feedback was negative, and then I identify it as myself not being good enough. Like that's how that was the attachment that, if I thought I was out of 10, level 10 being the perfect, in my mind I was an 8 or a 9. But then when she said this, my value belief of myself went down to like 5, 4.
So that's how you identified. You rated yourself, and
Yeah.
then your rating came down,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So here you have your interpretation that, you know, like your content is not relevant.
Relevant.
I
Holy. I know
was like,
speaking.
a revelation?
I know
Just
speaking.
kidding.
I know speaking English in this beautiful
Okay.
country.
So you have your like what your life experience has told you, and then you have how you identified with it, where you gave yourself a rating.
Yeah.
And now you have your repetition. Did you start repeating yourself and thinking about it over and over and
I
over
started
again?
questioning the whole thing. I'm like, I don't want. And then the principal said right before I entered the gym. Now hear how bad it got. Like again, me thinking. When the principal came, when I got to the school, she says, "We've heard nothing but great things about your presentations. We're so excited to have you." She goes, "We booked you just for one, but we want to book you for like 6 sessions, right?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, great, that's awesome."
Right
whatever.
before the second one?
No, right before when I got to the school.
Oh, the first one, right before the first one that you
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
Okay.
So when I had to sign in, when I went into the
Yeah.
office and I signed in, the principal greeted me,
yeah.
right? And she said, "We heard great things about your presentation. Right now, today we only booked you for one, but we want you to come back 5 more times, so a total of 6 times."
Okay.
And so then when the VP came in after my first presentation and gave me that feedback, I was like, I don't want to do this booking because I don't want the money, I don't want the glory, I don't want to work with the school anymore because I'm struggling. And so and then if I'm gonna every workshop I come in, people are gonna be questioning my teaching skills, my content. I'm like, I don't want to
Do
do
you
this.
see how you were spiraling?
Yeah, this is what was happening, right? And in that 10 minutes, because again, I had 15 minutes before my second
Yeah.
workshop. So in that 10 minutes, it was coming, I was depleting.
You were spiraling.
I was spiraling down.
That's what was creating. So that was creating your experience. That was creating the emotion, and the emotion was intensifying. It was
Yeah.
the lack of belief in yourself, the lack of belief in your content.
Yeah.
Your rating went down. You were like, I forget this. I don't want to do this. So you're making emotional decisions by that
Yeah.
time, all within 10 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Once you experience the next time, because it will happen next time where somebody will be triggered, will be offended, or something will come up with anything, with potentially a workshop that you do, now you have the opportunity to reframe it.
Okay.
So one of the things that you can do, one of the strategies that you can do, you can say to yourself, okay, next time this happens, because it will happen again, we're imperfect,
Right.
what am I going to do? What am I going to focus on? So what you said before, take a look at the criticism, at the feedback
Yeah.
as positive, right?
Yeah.
So that's one strategy that you can do. So instead of going into a deep hole where you're now rating yourself a 5 out of 10 or a 2 out of 10, whatever it was you're rating, now you're going to be like, you know what can I help myself to grow from this experience?
What can I do to become a 9 or a 10?
Exactly.
If I'm an 8 now and I got this feedback, this is a good thing because now with this feedback, I can get to a 9 or I can get to a 10.
Yeah. And it can come from a place of love as well. You can be like, you can come from a place like, oh my gosh, like this person got triggered after something that I said that I didn't mean anything by it. What can I do next time that I can create a safe environment for everybody?
Yeah.
Like if you reframe it, you'll
Yeah.
notice that because you're not dwelling on all the negatives, that now your interpretation is going to be different.
Yeah.
Your identification to it now becomes more of a positive as far as like, how can I make this better? And now your repetition is a positive repetition, which is going to create growth. So
Dang.
that's a lot of there for you, a lot of information. But in reality, I want to let you guys know that if anything that I have learned in this past 2 years that have sucked is that emotions are transient. They come and go. Just because you're
They're what?
transient,
I have no idea what
they
that
come
means.
and go.
Oh,
Yeah.
transient. That's what transient is?
Yeah, they're not permanent,
I knew that.
right?
I knew that.
Like,
I
if
just
you-
wanted to make sure that you were using it properly.
I know, right? Sometimes I like throw words out there that I'm like, I don't. They sound right, but who knows?
I will transient out of here after this podcast.
You're totally good, right?
Can I?
You can I don't know. That definition, I'm not sure. But I want you to know that you are not your emotions.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
just because you feel lonely, it doesn't mean that you're going to feel that way the rest of your life.
Yeah.
It's not an absolute. Nothing is an absolute.
This is good.
Right? So it just allow the emotion to be. Don't like stuff it down. Allow it to be. It's going to go away. You're going to know like Like for you, right? Those feelings of feeling like, oh my gosh, everything that I do sucks, they went away.
Yeah. Can I add something else?
No, you can't. Just kidding. Let's end it on a high. Kill switch.
This kill switch is way. I showed her where the kill switch was last time, and I've regretted it ever since. She's always threatening.
I know. I totally do say it every podcast. I'm like, kill switch. Yeah.
I think, and in all honesty, this just talks about the important, because one of the podcasts, like with this podcast, I want to make sure that we're also bringing value. Right now, we're not just highlighting a problem or a challenge that the world has or we have, but we're also bringing a solution to the problem. And I think one of the biggest things about today's podcast and the feeling of lonely and all this other stuff, the importance of personal growth and personal progression in the morning.
100%. I have a beast of a morning routine.
Yeah, you're on. I was about to say, you are all about the morning routine, 100%. Right? If I would not have done my morning routine, listening to a tape, if I would have been just listening to music, right, as great as that is, right, towards my workshop, I would not have heard Jordan Peterson say the advice, which was very active in my mind, and then when that would have happened, I would have just continued spiraling down.
I think you got to think of it this way. When you wake up, it's like, imagine yourself going to war, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, when you go to war, you're not going to go just in like, you're not going to go naked, right?
Well, I'm not.
You definitely don't want to go to war naked, right?
I'm not.
You're going to start thinking that whatever thing it is that you're doing to contribute to building yourself in the morning is adding a layer, is adding your like chest plate, is adding your helmet, it's adding those things that are going to help you deflect those blows, because those blows happen daily. Life is not meant to be like unicorns and rainbows. You're having an amazing day. No, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But rather what it is like now you have to look at it in the way that like, man, I get an opportunity to strengthen myself. You could be like, look at what a beast I am, that I can like withstand X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
At the same time, you do have to give yourself that ability to just be broken too, right?
Yeah.
But
so it's very interesting about that. It's just the importance of personal growth. And then on our website we have if you go to personal progress, there's a tab, personal progress. You can actually download a 12-page booklet that you can do on your own time to increase your from point A to point B and whatever travel that is, right? Whatever journey and vehicle. But here's the thing is, last week we about the whole come follow me.
Yeah.
Right? So Isaiah chapter 52. No,
hold on. You're at 40 to 49.
Huh?
Last week was 40 to 49.
No.
Yeah.
Isn't it? I'm talking seminary moments.
Oh, sorry, seminary. Go ahead.
Anyways,
seminary.
So seminary. No, but you know what? Even yesterday we had a Bishop Youth Fireside, and we are talking about how the Lord, he died and he resurrected and came back and whatever, and then Peter, they went just back to doing what they were doing, right, casting the nets and stuff like that. And the scriptures talk about that how they were working all day and all night and nothing was happening. Then the Lord showed up in the morning, right on the morrow, and they said, hey, cast it on the other side.
Yeah.
And they did. So the whole point of this is that if we try and do things on our own and think that we got this, we're going to fall short every single time.
100%.
So I think one of the main messages of today is always, number one, look for help, right? That you're not alone, right? And we've talked about this in the past. Feeling alone and being alone are two completely different things. And you have every right to feeling alone, but just understand that you're not necessarily alone in real life.
Yeah.
And so look for the strength of the Lord, right? So reach out to him. He's there waiting and willing to help you. Mm-hmm. But you gotta put in the effort, right? And you just gotta in the morning. And so for me, I dedicate about 2 hours of personal growth every morning, whether it's a combination of scriptures, gym, or whatever, 2.5 hours. Even if you start with 5 minutes.
Power of 5-minute actions.
Yeah.
Just do 5 minutes of this is my thing. I always talk about like the importance of the 3 aspects of life. It's to nourish your spirit, nourish your
Mind.
and nourish your body. Anything, do 5-minute actions, and that will help you. I got my kids doing that too.
Yeah, it's a 3-legged stool, which is the whole personal progress is based on the 3-legged stool: mind, body, and spirit, right?
100%.
So you do those, and again, 5 minutes of either scripture studies, 5 minutes of prayer, or just 5 minutes of meditation, 5 minutes of like just how many sit-ups can you do in 5 minutes?
Or even stretching. Like
Oh,
you don't
yeah, I
have to
know.
go all hardcore.
Yeah.
You
yeah.
go outside or in your room, do like stretches for 5 minutes, put a timer on, and then just power up timers. You 5-minute timers,
Yeah.
and then
Even if you go out for a walk 2.5 minutes and then come back 2.5 minutes, so by the time 5 minutes hits, you're back at the house. Whatever it is, you gotta dedicate some time
Yep.
to personal growth, because the adversary is real, and his greatest weapon, his greatest tool, is getting you to believe that you are alone.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because everything like falls on, like if you feel you're alone, you feel like you're not worth it. Then you feel like, oh my gosh, look at me, who's gonna love me?
Which is, I'm no joke, which is legit what I was feeling when I got that feedback. I was like, ugh, all my biggest nightmares are coming true. I'm no good anymore.
Yeah, but you see, you're able to work through it, right? And that's what we want to do, because we don't want to go through life thinking that those moments are never going to happen.
Yeah.
Rather, we want to go through life having the tools necessary to help us get out of those moments.
Yeah.
Yep. All right.
Anyways, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, do you have anything else to add here?
56 minutes of pure gold.
50.
You're welcome. Just kidding. I'm just kidding, guys. I love you.
So today I actually got some therapy. Normally it's going the other way around. I'm
Have a lot of issues, guys.
I'm billing this one out, paying my mortgage.
I know. Technically, we're partners. You shouldn't really be charging me. Have you thought about it? No,
Yeah,
I'm
that's
just kidding.
true. No, that's true. But ladies and gentlemen, listen. Oh, no, wrong button. So make sure you support us, right? Look at this beautiful, wonderful mug
And look at my shirt.
and the shirt. I am strong.
Listen, daily reminder, I am freaking strong. That's what I say myself. Freaking strong.
They're gonna drop the F-bomb right now. Don't do it. Don't do it.
We just finished talking about God, and I'm like, I'm just kidding. No, I wouldn't. I don't swear, guys.
I don't neither. Actually, neither right. But listen, those are all of our social sites right up there, right? Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Making sure. I also included the YouTube link on this, so you more than welcome. Help our algorithm. Just
Yes.
help our algorithm. Like, share, subscribe, post, repost,
Sharing is caring.
comment. All of these things help us.
Oh,
Oh.
Denor, your sister, right?
Yeah,
Gotta love her.
it's been a while since I've been spoken to her. She's too cool for me now. I think I offended her on the podcast.
Oh my gosh.
I kept telling her to log off.
No, we don't want you to log on. Log on.
Log
log
on?
off. Oh my gosh. Log on, Denor. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
We want to see you.
But when you comment, when you post, when you subscribe, when you push this content, it helps the algorithm. And ladies and gentlemen, help us with the link is going to go out to our mug club. And again, it's one of those yearly subscriptions. You help us out. It helps us. It helps push the content. It helps push the company to a new level and helping us out. So
And it helps us help people. That's
Yeah.
what we want, right?
yeah. At the end of the day, that's the whole
That's
purpose
what this
of
is all about.
Vision to success.
Exactly.
We have to have an outro.
Way to put us on the spot.
Yeah.
For today, it's just gonna be thank you so much, guys. We love you. Have an amazing week, and we'll see you next week. Peace out.
We still need an outro.
Oh my gosh, kill switch.
Get a minute, Dono. Get a minute of your time. Get a minute of your. Let it. I still gotta live right, and I'm never gonna let you out of my side. I've been